Is submitted, and just to remind you, of course, you need to have your questions in by 6 p.m. and in writing to have them put forward at the forum tonight. So our first open forum question is from Boyd Collins. You got yours in a week early, Boyd.
Evening, councillors and mayor.
I believe you came to the council meeting last week. Okay, well, you were very keen.
Just a little. No, I was.
Yeah, I know.
It was on the 22nd, actually. It's on the 27th.
Yeah.
Or 28th.
Okay, far away.
Question 1. At 27 June last, I didn't get a satisfactory answer to surveillance of water truck movements. Where is the camera? Who is in control and management and reporting to council on this surveillance camera? I would like this matter investigated by an appropriate authority.
Yeah, thanks, Boyd. So in terms of the camera, it's actually nothing to do with council, as I think I said last time. So someone in the community is doing this. We have no jurisdiction over that, but if you're concerned about it, the appropriate authority would actually be the police to report that to if you think someone's doing something illegally. Yeah. So we can't give you any other information, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's questions later on the activities of that camera and other things out there. You've got a section in there that objections and whatever happens.
Oh, so you're talking about, yeah, we have an ongoing...
The movement on the water trucks.
Yeah, so, but in terms of who reports or what they report, people can report to us, but in terms of how they're monitoring things or what they're doing, that's not, we have nothing to do with that. And if you think they're doing something that's breaching privacy or whatever, then I would suggest you take that to the police, which is totally appropriate to do. Yeah.
Well, okay.
So do you want your next question?
Yeah. The term deposits at the last budget estimated at $4 to $5.5 million, the actual principal, which were hastily placed with non-supporting fossil fuel banks with up to 0.5% reduction in interest. Has the final figure been calculated? It was estimated at that meeting to be between $2,000 and $4,000, no more than $4,000 reduction in interest. My calculations over a 12-month period came to a greater amount of loss to the ratepayer funds. For instance, if there was $5 million term deposit and there was a loss of 0.5% on that $5 million, that would come to about $25,000 loss to the ratepayers.
So Greg Pinkerton, the Manager of Corporate Services, Director, can provide an answer to you for that.
All right, thanks Boyd for the question. The divestment process is currently underway, so it's not yet complete. And it's difficult to compare the interest rates of the past with the interest rates of the future just because it's a dynamic market. But thanks for sending your question through. It gave me a bit of a chance to look up a few of the rates. So just doing a bit of a look around at the different banks, you know, the investment that you were talking about was at 2.4%, and I can tell you that sort of rate is available in the market at the moment. So some of the divested banks that we've looked at are 2.3, 2.4, 2.3, there's another at 2.4. So we're quite confident that once the divestment goes through and all of the investments settle down, that we'll be able to achieve the same sort of rate as we've had in the past, just because it's a really competitive market. So there's certainly some 2.4s available through divested banks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Boyd. And secondly, Robin McLeish.
Thank you, Mayor. Council has received a grant to construct a vehicle deviation route around Rutherglen to remove large vehicles from the main street. Implementation of this project will provide greater safety for people using the main street. It will improve the ambience for the local traders and encourage more people to visit Rutherglen. Is there a regular report on progress of the project, and if so, where can it be accessed?
Okay, so just to clarify, we haven't been given a grant to do a deviation route, unfortunately. What we do have is $2 million each from state and federal government. Part of that is to do what we're doing right now, which is the what do we call it? The study on origin to destination study. So that's underway now to look at, well, where are the trucks coming from and where are they going to then enable us to do some works on existing roads to help encourage trucks to use them. So it's not actually a bypass or anything like that, which was, would be $40 million. So we're right at that point now of doing the origin to destination study, and we get regular updates at council. And in terms of it being available to the public, that will be released when those studies are completed, won't it?
Madam, if I just add
Sure.
to what you were just saying there, the funding is actually, we're working closely on those things with Vic Roads.
Yep.
And so Vic Roads are actually initiating the planning component, which is the origin destination, and I don't believe it's actually started yet, but,
Okay.
but the planning is about to commence shortly.
So we're right at the very beginning of that process, Robin. And in terms of the regular report on the progress, I imagine as each stage is completed, that will be released publicly so people can see where it's up to. So I can't tell you much more than that right now, unless do you want to add anything to that, Ian?
Yeah, look, only to confirm that the money is channeled through Vic Roads, so we're working with Vic Roads on that. There's nothing to report at the moment other than what you've heard, and as that comes forward, we'll certainly find a way to provide councillors with updates, but it's not our project to run, so we're partnering with Vic Roads is probably the best answer I can give at the moment.
Yeah.
What you're going to do is similar to the consultant's report you got 4 years ago and never acted on?
No. This is the actual origin to destination study, is actually mapping the truck routes exactly to find out how we can best encourage them not to be in the main street, because we can't stop them going through the main street. So we've got to work out which are the routes that they are most likely to use, and what are the road improvements we can do on those to encourage that.
Which was what was done in the previous consultant's report, with the 4 routes
I can't
that were
actually comment on that
identified,
report,
and
sorry.
frequency of movement and truck impact, etc.
I can't comment on that. Would you like to comment?
Through the Mayor, just to sort of to clarify that, Robin, so this particular study is to actually, or not a study, so this project is to actually identify the origin and destination of heavy vehicles, and then to identify the infrastructure, the existing road network infrastructure that needs to be upgraded to achieve the aims that you've mentioned, which is the removal of heavy vehicles from Main Street of Rutherglen. So from that point of view, it's actually quite a different perspective to what was done previously, which was effectively a total bypass of
No, it was not. Did 4 alternative routes
So
through
Robin,
the town and external.
okay, I'm sorry,
But the thrust of my question is, when will we see a formal report?
and the answer is Vic Roads. We are working with Vic Roads, and that work's commenced, and I can't give you a date for when you'll see that report. That study is underway. You could also ring Vic Roads and see if they can give you a more definitive answer, because that's who's running the study.
I pay my rates to have the council do that for me.
Okay.
I don't expect to do the work myself.
So I'm happy to pass that over to you, and for the Director of Infrastructure to see if we can send you a more definitive date for when the
Excellent.
report will be
Yes.
done. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, are there any condolences tonight? No. Confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. So, So the recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of July 2017 and the special council meeting held on the 6th of June 2017, as published on the council's website, be confirmed. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Shepherd, a seconder. Councillor Murdoch. All those in favour? Carried. Business arising from the previous minutes. Are there any business arising? There's no reports for that. Okay, deputations and petitions. None to be presented. All right, so before we go any further, we have some urgent business to announce tonight. So I'm going to announce that our CEO has resigned, and Jerry Smith will be finishing on the 23rd of September, so in a very short period of time. Clearly that creates some business that we need to attend to tonight, but before we do that, Jerry, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. As the Mayor has mentioned, it has been reported that that I've submitted my resignation to the council, and the effective date is the 6th of October, but I'll be taking some leave prior to that. And I guess I just wanted to note to the council and to the community that that this appointment has actually been a career highlight for me, and the opportunity to lead a council organisation in this beautiful part of the world with very active communities with very strong views on what they want. And a highly engaged council and a very capable organisation is a treat that anybody would relish. And so I really am privileged to have been appointed into this role. But I have been separated from my family for this year, and I've actually found that much more difficult than I anticipated. So an opportunity has arisen for me to take a role with local government Victoria in the state government, and to play a role in sector reform, sector performance, and I guess sector innovation. And so that has been too good an opportunity to pass up. And so, as I mentioned, I've tendered my resignation, and I guess what I would like to say is what a privilege it has been, and I feel that this council, I've worked in 3 councils, 2 metros that who have parking revenues that that nearly meet our total budget, and the commitment of the council, the commitment of the staff, the talent of the staff, the responsiveness is as good as anything I've seen anywhere. So it's been a real privilege to work in with that sort of team. I thank my executive team for the support, for their patience with me over the few years, and also for the focus on delivery. And I think that we've responded well to the council's priorities, and we're certainly in the process of doing that with this new council. And I'd also like to thank the mayor and the current councillors for the guidance, the engagement, the support that you've certainly provided to me in the period that you've been elected. It's been a real privilege. Indigo Shire Council is in very good hands. It's a beautiful municipality, and I'm sure it'll go from strength to strength. So, Madam Mayor, thank you for the opportunity, and I thank everybody for the privilege. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jerry. And because we got taken by surprise, we found out yesterday about this. As it turns out, this will be Jerry's last council meeting. So I would like to express my deep thanks to Jerry for his enormous commitment over the last 3 years. And I have to say that Jerry works tirelessly in his role as CEO. He's extraordinarily committed. I think he's worked very hard under some very challenging times with the rate capping, etc., that we face, and the ongoing difficulties that small rural shires face with such limited resources and such huge needs, particularly around infrastructure and financial management. And in my role as Mayor, Jerry's been incredibly supportive and I think has really created a great team within the organisation, including staff and councillors. So thank you very much for your hard work and your genuine commitment to wanting the best outcomes for this Shire and to your support to council and councillors in our roles. And so we wish you all the best. And yes, it's a sudden departure, so I think we're all a bit shell-shocked actually. But we, of course, will have a formal farewell for you to be organised shortly, and those details will be announced. But for now, we just want to wish you all the best, Jerry. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so of course it does, in fact, raise some serious business that we need to take care of tonight. So I need a motion from councillors to allow me to bring the motion for appointment of an interim chief executive officer to this meeting. Do I have someone to pass that? Councillor Gaffney, seconded. Councillor Murdoch. All those in favour?
I haven't moved the motion, Madam
sorry.
Mayor.
No, to move, allow me to bring the motion.
Oh, yeah, do that one.
I'm asking for permission to allow me to bring the motion. And you've
Okay.
moved it, and Councillor Murdoch second. All those in favour? Okay, now go for it.
Oh, okay. I'd like to move that Council appoints Greg Pinkerton as the Interim Chief Executive Officer of the Indigo Shire Council from the 23rd of September 2017 for a period of up to 12 months to allow recruitment and commencement of the new Chief Executive Officer. Point 2, that Council authorises the Mayor to finalise remuneration arrangements commensurate to the role at entry level.
You seconded, moved Councillor Gaffney, seconded Councillor Murdoch. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Congratulations to Greg Pinkerton. And okay, so getting back to what we were expecting to talk about tonight, item 10.1 is the July 2017 Finance Report. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Trenery, as the Chair of the Finance Committee, seconded Councillor Murdoch. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor?
This is the first one of this current budget. Obviously, we're on track. I thought I was loud enough, but perhaps not. Being the first report of this budget, it's obviously on track. There is a few things to note in regards to it. Obviously, there is, I'm just looking for the figure now, I think it was $2.2 million. It was early receipt from the Victorian Grants Commission, which has changed the figures somewhat, but we're happy to take that at any stage, the extra 2.2 million. But obviously it's an early payment, not an additional payment, so the end result will be the same. But overall, obviously a month into it, there's not a lot to discuss, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, are there any questions?
Yes, I have, Madam Mayor. Perhaps not with Councillor Trenery, perhaps with the Direct Corporate Business
Services?
Boyd Collins asked some questions in open forum regarding divestment. If you look at page 10 of this report, it talks about $3 million being in term deposits and a further 3.8 at call in the operating account. What that shows is that the money with Bank West, which is a fossil fuel investment bank, it's 2.5. The Bendigo Bank is 2%. There's two lots of 2%, and WAW is 2.1%, and there are two lots of that. So there's a fair difference in those figures. I'm sure that Mr. Pinkerton has got more current figures, but they reflect a great deal of difference. There's also 3.8
Sorry, are you asking a question? Mr. Councillor Gaffney, you got a question?
I haven't finished the question.
Oh, it's a question. Go on.
Yep. Is that correct, Councillor Trenery? the figures I just stated. Is that correct?
If that's your question, they're definitely correct, and I don't know whether the director's got updated figures.
No, that's fine, thank you. With the operating cash, there's 3.84 million. It doesn't say which institution that money is held with. I was just wondering, do you know, Councillor Trenner?
I'm happy to defer that one.
Yes, so the operating cash is kept with our transaction bank, which is the Commonwealth Bank.
Thank you.
Okay, finished? Your questions? Okay, any other questions for Councillor Trenery? So I put the motion that the July 2017 finance report be accepted. All those in favour? Carried. 10.2, Council Advisory Committee minutes. Do I have someone to move that Council receives and endorses the attached unconfirmed Advisory Committee minutes and endorses the officer comments? Moved by Councillor Price, seconded. Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you wish to speak to that at all? No. Okay, so I'll put the motion.
I've got some
sorry.
questions. That's right, Madam Mayor. In the Audit Committee Chair report, it talks about the Draft Audit Committee Charter, and it states that it confuses the role of management, councillors and committee members. Just wondering whether this confusion will be addressed, and will the draft come to council?
CEO?
Yeah, I'll, through the Mayor. So the comments of the Chair have been addressed in a subsequent draft, and the Audit Committee will look at it, and in terms of Council consideration, yes, it will come to Council for adoption.
Okay, thank you.
One further question. With the Environment Advisory Committee, there's a motion regarding electronic documents. I was just wondering whether we know the percentage of Indigo residents who pay online and the number of Indigo residents who own or use a computer.
Anyone like to answer that? I don't know the numbers. Does anyone know the numbers on that? I don't think we do.
As far as the payment online, I could get some figures on that and bring it through to the Finance Committee if that's helpful.
Oh, you mean payment to council online?
Payment to council
Okay,
online.
yeah.
So we have a breakdown on our various payment channels. So I'm quite happy to bring that back to the Finance Committee for councillors to have a good look at. As far as computer ownership, no, we don't have the figures on that.
Okay.
Just one further question, Madam Mayor. The Heritage Advisory Committee moved a number of motions. I noticed that there were only 4 community members at that meeting and 5 either councillors or council staff. I'm just wondering whether 4 is a quorum for that committee.
I'm just trying to think who to ask on that one. Director of Corporate Services? Governance?
I think either way, we'd need to take that on notice to be absolutely certain. But we do have a governance department that checks the minutes as it comes through, and usually any errors like that would be picked up. So the base position would be that is a quorum. However, we will check that one specifically against the terms of reference.
All right, thanks. And you'll bring that back to a briefing meeting?
Yeah,
Great,
we can do
thank
that.
you.
And my last question, Madam Mayor, is regarding the Indigo Environment Advisory Committee. That at their last meeting there were 15 members and four councillors or staff, and I noticed the chair was calling for an increase in the number on that committee. I was just wondering what the deed of delegation just seems to have 19 people at a committee is a very large number. Is there a ceiling or is it just open slather?
So, Director of
Look,
Infrastructure.
Thank you. We'll probably have to take that one on notice as well. My understanding is there is a ceiling, there is a number, and I think it's as high as about 18, which reflected probably a lot of interest in years gone by, but we'll have to confirm.
Okay, so we'll get that back to you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. All right, any other questions about the Assembly of Council's records? Oh, Councillor Shepherd.
I just wanted to, from that it says about the Heritage Awards, the Cultural Heritage Awards from the Heritage Advisory Committee, and I just wanted to remind people that they're invited to nominate. There's a number of awards available, and we're asking for people to nominate outstanding contributions to cultural heritage conservation, research, education, promotion, interpretation, training, and awareness raising within the Indigo Shire. And there's, if you go onto the web page, you'll see the nominations close on Friday, the 8th of December 2017. But have a look and see if you've done something that you think you could nominate yourself for.
Thank you. All right, so the recommendation is that Council accepts the attached Assembly of Councillors records. Do I have a mover for that? Sorry, what did I say? Advisory Committee, sorry. Moved by Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. All those in favour? Thank you, carried. 10.3, Assembly of Councillor records. So the recommendation is that Council accepts the attached Assembly of Councillor records. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Gaffney, a seconder. Councillor Murdoch. All those in favour? Carried. And 10.4, accommodation booking system. So the recommendation is that Council, 1, confirms its commitment to the current online booking system. 2, confirms its commitment to facilitated bookings through councillors' visitor information centres. That it continues to inform, educate and support operators in becoming live bookable online. Fourthly, that it contacts smaller accommodation providers over the next 6 months to further understand their marketing challenges and to assist, where requested, to improve visibility and bookability of their property. 5, continues to work on enhancing the user experience of the current booking platform and considers options for low-cost booking referrals to accommodation providers. And lastly, notes the inclusion of $10,000 in the 2017-18 budget for booking system functional enhancements. Do I have somebody to move that motion? Oh, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Trenery. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
I'm happy to support this motion as it is for a short-term gain. Long-term, I believe that our future isn't in the accommodation booking industry, but I understand there needs to be a transition process and this will assist in that. So for that reason, I believe we should support it.
Okay. Councillor Trenery, do you wish to speak to it?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, the reason why I'm supporting this is probably because of what the procedure was, what the staff have gone through to bring this to us, in working with the community and working with the community very closely. I think it was a good sign to see council working with business and coming up with a solution. And it won't be absolutely perfect for everyone, and I understand that. But the mechanism that was used and the procedures that were used were absolutely fantastic. It was a good end result.
All right. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Gaffney?
No, not to.
Well, to the motion, for or against?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've certainly got concerns about the current booking platform. Prior to coming to the briefing meeting, I googled Beechworth accommodation. When I looked at that website, there were 20 sites on that page and none included the TNE booking system. So if you're not in the top 20, I'm not sure whether people keep turning the page and turning the page. But the booking system, from what I'm told, is not working. Not to say that it won't work in the future, but if you're not in the first 20 listed on Google to book accommodation, there's certainly a serious issue there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? So I'll put the motion to move the recommendation as I've already outlined. All those in favour? Against? Thank you.
Division.
All those in favour, raise your hands. Councillor Goldsworthy, Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Price, Councillor Trenery, Councillor Murdoch, Councillor O'Connor. Against? Raise your hand. Really high. Councillor Gaffney. I have to be able to see it, it's in the local law. Okay, thank you for that. So, under Development and Community Services Department, item 11.1 is the Kew Springs Water Extraction Monthly Compliance Report. And the recommendation is that Council notes the Kew Spring Water Extraction Facility monitoring report content and the action undertaken where required. Do I have someone to move that motion? Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy, a seconder. Councillor Shepherd. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? All right, I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 11.2. This is the Indigo Shire 2017-2018 community grants. The recommendation is that Council funds the following applications totalling $50,000 under its 2017-2018 community grants program. There are 32 successful applicants there, so I'm not going to read them all out. They're available online in the agenda. Do I have someone? Oh, actually there's 34, I beg your pardon. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Murdoch, do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Murdoch?
I'd just like to thank those people that were involved in deciding this. We have community members from right across the Shire who give up their time to read a pile about yay high of whoops, I've lost the word. Grants, applications, and I really take my hat off to them because this is not the committee I usually sit on. Unfortunately, our councillor was away and I took it over, and I was reading very, very fast to keep up with the procedures, but I do thank those people that gave their time. There are a lot of people who have put in grants. Many of the grants are not the full grants that they asked for because we had a lot of applications and only a limited amount of money. So it meant that we're giving people a hand up, not a handout, and a lot of this will make the community work better. So I thank very much the committee who were on the decision-making body and commend the grants.
Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to speak to the motion? Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Price.
I'd just like to make a comment that I thought it was disappointing that the Youth Initiative grants weren't exhausted, given that only one of the 4 applications was funded to the tune of $750. I recognise that some of the other applications may not have fit the criteria, but I think that we should be looking to at least meet that budget, if not exceed it.
Yep, thank you, Councillor. And just to be clear, the other applications were from primary schools, and we have a criteria that says that we don't offer community grants to schools, which is something that, of course, that we could discuss again if it's raised concerns for people, but that was the criteria for this round. Oh, sorry, Councillor Shepherd, yes.
I also just was interested that the arts and culture grants is for the Beechworth Public Cemetery, so I encourage our arts and cultural groups throughout the Shire to apply for funding, because out of all that, we've got a lot of initiative happening in our arts and cultural areas, so get in there and get the money.
Okay. All right, so I'll put the motion that the Council funds the applications as outlined to the total of $50,000 for the 2017-18 Community Grants Program. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 11.3 is the Indigo Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee 2017-18 Tourism Event Grant Allocations. The recommendation is that Council endorses the Indigo Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee's recommendations for the 2017-18 Tourism Event Grant Allocations. Do I have someone to put the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, a seconder. Councillor Shepherd. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor?
I do, thank you. Like what happened with the community grants process, these grant applications were oversubscribed. As detailed in the report, there were 40 applications for requesting a total of $104,000. There was only $26,000 to give away.
That sounds like me.
So look, there were quite a few very worthy projects that weren't funded at all. It was made clear by the Tourism Department that through the application process, many of the applicants said if we can't get the maximum amount that they'd applied for, the amount that they'd applied for, then it almost wasn't worth it. Getting $200 for a $4,000 request wasn't really going to help them. So the committee had obviously gone into a fair bit of detail, because even looking at 5 minutes per applicant, you're looking at 2 hours just to decide. And for the dozen committee members around the table, it would take quite a while to get through. So the process we used was to take the advice from the tourism manager, and from that we funded 6 projects fully, and what she believed were the ones that would have the greatest impact and introduce new things to the Indigo Shire, and hopefully work on our tourism and getting people in. There are another 8 projects that were events that were funded between $500 and $1,000. There's more a show of good faith, understanding that we couldn't fund them all fully. There are, out of that, another 26 events probably, my math is about right, that weren't funded at all. It's not to say they weren't worthy events and worthy of funding, it's just that we only had a limited amount of money. So for that reason, I say that we should support the list as given, recognising that there are a lot of projects that were worthy of it that didn't get funding at all.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd, do you want to add to that?
Just that we would often bring up, what about this one? You know, why not? And we kept going back to those basic principles of innovation, brand, growth and marketing. So there was quite a process, and quite, those things we kept being told that. So even though there were some fantastic things in there, those 4 points were the things we kept going back to. So I'm sure there'll be people disappointed, but I'm hoping that somehow that they will be able to get funding somewhere else, or we'll be able to support them in another way. And a lot of people got in-kind assistance as well, which is, is a major part of event and festival funding. So I'm hoping that the people who are disappointed still continue with their event, because there's some fantastic things there.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney?
I'd just like to make a comment that there was an application from the Beechworth Women's Shed regarding the spring racing garden party, which I thought was quite good. But it looks to me as if they made a mistake with the date. It says Wednesday the 1st of November, which is almost a week before Cup Day, which is actually the 7th of November. So I can easily see why that was rejected, being just an ordinary weekday.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I put the motion that Council endorses the Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee's recommendations for the tourism event grant allocations. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 12.1, the Lake Sambal Beach Project Revised Design. So the recommendation is that Council endorses the Lake Sambal Sandy Beach Development Plan attached to the report, which is available in the agenda online. Notes the changes to the original design plan following feedback received from the community. Notes that continued development of this precinct through the implementation of the Lake Sambal Master Plan is proposed over the next few years. notes that the projected cost overrun outlined in this report and that this will be addressed in the mid-year budget review, and notes that the remaining works are scheduled to be completed prior to the coming summer. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Murdoch. Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Sure. This project's actually gone through a fair bit of public consultation. So initially there was the Lake Sample Master Plan, and then there was, out of that, the development of the Sandy Beach area, where there was a signage put up and a plan, and people had the opportunity to comment. There was some revisions of it, some further works were done, and it was found to be a few issues with it, so that it has come back to council now for a decision. It is going to cost $10,000 more than initially planned with the budget, but I think in the long run it is a worthy project and it deserves our support.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Murdoch, do you wish to add to that? Reserve your right. Any other councillor wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My concern is for the safety of such young children using this playground. When you approach the water, you cannot see the wall, and recently the water has come right up to the wall. I don't believe a step and rail will be sufficient for children running to the edge of the water, and they've got up to probably 2.5 or 3 foot fall, which they don't see the truck coming. Also, I'm concerned about the bike path going through or very close to this children's playground. So I'm not against the motion, but I'm concerned about the safety issues at Lake Sambal, Sandy Beach, which is so popular with families with such young children.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Would you like to respond? Yeah.
Yes. So the wall that was referenced, I'd say is about 450 millimetres in height at maximum. 2 to 3 feet takes it up to 600 or to 900, which is erroneous. And in relation to the bike track that runs through it, it's very rarely used and it's been in existence for a long time, and I don't think we'll see any additional injuries occur as a result of it remaining where it is. I believe that the enhancements to it may not be the world's best practice, and it may not be funded to $1 million, which we'd love to spend around there. It is what the council can do at the time within our limitations, so I think it's a worthy project. I don't believe there's any issues. We've had it risk assessed, and it's very low risk.
Yep. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? All right. You reserve your right. You're right. Okay. I'll put the recommendation that I've already outlined. So those in favour, all those in favour? Against?
Division.
Carried. Division. All those in favour, raise your hands. Councillor Goldsworthy, Councillor Shepherd, Councillor Price, Councillor Trenery, Councillor Murdoch, Councillor O'Connor. Those against, raise your hands. Councillor Gaffney. Thank you. All right, so there are no further items with executive management. Moving on to notices of motion. Councillor Gaffney, you have a motion on the Barmutha Park Committee of Management.
I do, Madam Mayor. The motion is that Council resolves to amend the Barmutha Park Committee of Management Instrument of Delegation. Point 2, at item 14 of the Instrument of Delegation, paragraph 13.1 be deleted. Paragraph 13.1 will now read, the councillor appointed by council will be the chair of the committee. Point 3, I withdraw. Point 4, an additional point be included within the composition of the committee section of the Instrument of Delegation to preclude one club from holding both treasurer and secretary positions. Point 5, council does not continue with the selection process of appointing community members to this committee and advises the applicants accordingly.
Do I have a seconder? Sorry, you second that? Thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Gaffney?
No, except to say that the notes in support mention the Beechworth Hockey Club have found a new home at Mayday Hills. I'd just like to mention that they still have use at Barmutha Park and will be part of the Committee of Management.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Do you wish to? You wish them all the best. Okay, so I put the motion as outlined. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 14.2, Community Forums. Councillor Gaffney, you have a motion to move.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion is that Council resolve to introduce community forums within Indigo Shire. And point 2, that the next community forum will be held at Sandy Creek, and it will be held during the month of October.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Price. Sorry.
They're all keen to second it, Madam
They're very keen. All those in favour? Oh, do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Price?
Only to say that we've had some
I moved it, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Don't I speak first?
Sorry. Yeah, I did. But you can speak to it. Councillor Gaffney.
I just think that it's very important that this council engage and consult with its community right across the Shire. The Shire is over 16,000 square kilometres, and it takes an hour and 3/4 to get from one site, from Cogunya to Waggunya. All council meetings are now held in Beechworth, and it's very difficult for people to drive such large distances at night, and I'm grateful to the gallery coming tonight, dodging kangaroos, etc., for most of you, not all. So I just think it gives an opportunity for the community to speak to council about their concerns and other issues. They may have a major project in mind that could be funded by the federal government grants, and I'm sure we would like to listen to those proposals. Prior to the election, most councillors expressed a desire to consult with their communities. We must make the most of this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Price, do you want to speak to the motion? Yep. Any other councillors? Councillor Trenery.
I'd love to, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to note in the motion there, Councillor Gaffney, I thank you for putting in Sandy Creek. Some members of Sandy Creek approached me who were meant to have the last one from last council, and unfortunately it was cancelled. So to have it there is a fantastic idea. I think these are absolutely essential for running a council. We spend a fair bit of time in Beechworth. I understand why that is, but with all the debates and arguments and where the council meetings were going to take place, it was under the understanding that we would have community meetings out in the community in the different areas. And to listen to all the different people with different ideas, to be in touch with community, both from their point of view and our point of view, explaining what we are doing, how we're going about things, I think is absolutely essential. So I commend this.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Councillor Goldsworthy.
So we've been on council now for about 10 months, and it was always the intention that after developing a plan that we'd go back out to the community forums. So whilst I do support the premise of the motion that we do go out into the community and continue with forums in whatever manner we do work out, I don't believe this notice of motion was actually necessary, because council was in the process of doing exactly that. In fact, we had a meeting at 2:30. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it due to a funeral, but there was already a meeting decided at for 2:30 today where we'd discuss how the process would be undertaken. So for this, I feel that we could have waited for an officer's report, and we would have got a more detailed look at how we're going to do our public planning, our public consultation into the future. But in saying all that, I do support that we recommence the community forums, and I'm quite happy to go to Sandy Creek or any other place in the Shire to do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Shepherd.
I agree one thing we do agree on in this council, all of us, is that community engagement's our priority, one of our priorities. It's a thing we discuss a lot, and you probably noticed we are out there doing lots of community engagement. Now, the forums are a significant part of that for a few people, but I think it's really important that we look at our whole engagement procedure, and that's what we're in the process of doing, to make sure that it's not only the people who can come out between 6:30 and 7:30 at night and give their feedback to council, but we also have other opportunities. And at the moment, you may have noticed we're using Facebook more often than social media to engage, and that's part of what we've been discussing. So there's so many other areas, and this is just one very small part to have the forum. It's important to engage with forums, but it's just a small part of the whole procedure. So again, I agree, Larry, that we need to see the whole, and we need to be part of, and you need to be part of, the discussion about community engagement and what our process will be. But I support the notice of motion.
Thank you. Councillor Price?
I just echo all of the comments that councillors have made, and I hope to see you at the first one in your town.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to sum up, Councillor?
Yes, I would. This council has not had a community forum for the last year. I checked my diary. There are no councillor community forums listed in that calendar for the next year. That's why I brought this motion on. It's all well and good to say we were gonna. Well, now we are.
So I put the motion. All those in favour? All those in favour? Carried. Item 15, councillors' report. This is your opportunity, councillors, to have a quick catch-up if you wish, to inform the community of what you've been doing. My mayoral calendar for July is outlined there, and of course I'll take any questions on that. So does anyone want to quickly take this opportunity to let the community know what you've been involved in that is of importance to you or to them? You've got to remember. Councillor Shepherd.
We did meet, a few of us met yesterday to talk about WASPs. So the process is beginning, and we're aware that there's other councils that are also interested, that there's an opportunity to work together. So the discussion has started, but that's about it. And our environment officer has gone back to start looking at how we can work with the community at the whole, and working with them in some sort of response to the WASPs for next summer.
Yep. Thank you. So we're talking about European WASPs, and we're talking about needing everybody to be involved in how we manage this situation. So early days, but we'll be communicating with the community about how we can get people involved in doing our best. We won't be able to eradicate them, but hopefully we can reduce their numbers and reduce the impact they have. And having recently been stung by one, it's not something you want to see happen to our visitors. Councillor Price.
Just to encourage people to get along to contribute to our REC strategy, which is called Active Indigo. There's been some listening posts already, and there are a few more to come, and there's also details of how to contact the consultant on the website.
Thank you. Any other matters? Yes, Councillor Murdoch.
Yeah, it's Tidy Towns time again, and I was over at Rutherglen where they were putting forward some projects. I believe Beechworth has also got projects in, so keep an eye out for the projects that they've got up and see how they go about the competition in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Shepherd.
Also, the Chiltern Athenaeum for a while was having problems, and just the last meeting we went to, we noted that their volunteer, that there's no space now for volunteers, although if you're really keen, I'm sure you could get your name on the list. So it's gone from struggling there with the death of Rex Fuge, who was such a strong member of that group, to now, they're moving on now to having a new trust and new governance, and things are looking really good. So it's exciting to see them working together to create this new membership.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. So I'll move through to general business. Are there any items for general business at this meeting? No. So...
Yes, there is.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon.
I thought we could have an opportunity earlier to talk about the CEO, but if we can make a few comments now, I'd appreciate it. Obviously, I was there at the start when we employed Jerry, and he come hobbling in a moon boot. I don't know whether he actually needed it or was just trying to make an impression, but it seemed to work. But the first impression I had of Jerry was that he was a very capable person and a person of honesty and integrity. And I felt a real need for someone who was going to look at a decision where 4 councillors had a decision, and that's the way we're going to go, and that takes a fair bit of determination sometimes in this industry, and he certainly fulfilled that role in that manner. And I really do appreciate the term I had with you as mayor, and I know you don't like bragging or talking about it, but you're a big part of the rail trail that I've mentioned in the past, and I hope you get an invite when it's there, and you manage to come up with your family and go for a ride. So really do appreciate the time and effort that you put in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general business?
Just add to that?
Of course you can.
I think when I look back on, I did write down a couple of things that Jerry has done, and one of the things that I was really quite surprised at from street talking that when we first met, the placemaking at Chiltern, and that seems to have gone gangbusters and has been a really good example of community consultation. He's had to work through the Barnawatha fires, which were a huge impost on our community, but the consultation process went through and I think worked well. We've recently had Tangambalanga with the Murray Goulburn closure, which I know he's been working on very, very hard. And I do get, I've been around for a while and I get a bit worried about this one, but the Beechworth Pool with the crack and the Lake Sandbell wall are 2 projects that we've had come up over the time. The rail trail from Beechworth to Yakandanda was, I think, the crowning glory, that the money that we've been given for that, $6 million for that bit and $12 million overall, and Rutherglen Glen revitalisation, which is well underway. These are projects that we sort of do and forget about. As we get them done, you'd sort of go on to the next project. But when you actually put them together, Jerry's been here for 3 years, and these are major projects that he has instigated or instigated with the help of council and the staff. So I really do thank you. You've been a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to say anything? You don't want to go any further? All right. Yes, of course.
As a new councillor, I'd just like to say we've really pushed you a little bit, haven't we? In that we keep getting told that that's not your area. So it's been good for us to come across. Jerry's been. We're meant to be working in the strategic area of council, and that's where we're learning to work. But it's been great working with Jerry, where he's been very, very much, this is the area you work in, and these are the skills that you've got skills, and this is where you can take it. So thanks, Jerry, for leading us in those this first year, really. You've been guiding us from community members to councillors, and it's a journey, and we've learnt a lot, so thank you.
Right. Do you want to make any comment, Jerry? You look like you've had enough. Okay. All right. So are there any other items for general business? Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to meeting Cameron Orty, our new Burke Museum manager, and he looks as though he comes highly recommended, and I love the fact that he's worked in community museums and collections, and I think that's just the sort of person we need, and he's young and engaged and wants to live here, so I'm looking forward to having him as part of our heritage and cultural discussion. And I also wanted to bring up that I've had quite a few people say to me about what can we do as councillors and leaders in the community about the marriage equality vote. Now I know it's a federal issue, but it was too late to bring it into this council meeting. But I'd just like to say that I send my support really out to those people who are listening tonight, perhaps, and wondering if we're going to be doing something. We'll be looking at our next council meeting at what we can do, but I send my support, and I myself will be voting for marriage equality, but I just want to, I don't want this to become an ugly debate, and I don't want people to have poor comments around this, but it is something as leaders we do have to talk about at some stage, I think. Just leave it there.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other general business? I'll just ask the gallery to keep your comments to yourselves for now. We're moving into... Sorry? Yeah, as I said, I'll ask the gallery to keep your comments to yourself. We're moving now into confidential, so can I please ask the gallery to leave, and I will actually let you know that we won't be returning to any other business at the end of this meeting, so you're of course welcome to wait around. But I need to ask, I need to get a motion from Council to say that we move into confidential. Thank you, Councillor Goldsworthy, seconded by Councillor Murdoch. All those in favour? Done, thank you. Yeah, say goodbye to Jerry.